Our today's guest is an award-winning sales expert, author, and speaker. Recently, people have named her as 43 of 200 global thought leaders and influencers to watch till 2021. And she's also the nominee of RBC Women Entrepreneur of Canada Awards, and she is none other than Jackie Rainforth. So, welcome to the show. How are you doing today?
I'm feeling great, thank you. It's a little cold here in Canada today, but other than that, I'm feeling fabulous, thank you.
Yeah, amazing. So there is a rain from, like, sorry, snowstorm. So it's
Yeah, big snowstorm today.
yeah, yeah. So tell us about your journey and how did you become what you are today?
Well, I kind of fell into selling when I was in university, and my boss at the time said, "Oh, you have a great personality. You should be in sales." And I started off, I was horrible. I was really, really bad, but I didn't let anybody know. And I kind of faked it. And until I realized that you really do need education, you do need learning, you do need, processes behind you. So I worked really hard to discover what those were. And then, I went to a lot of sales courses and I just found they were really complicated, really script based. They just weren't simple. And I kind of created my own that I found that were really easy to do, really easy to implement. And I kind of worked with those. I ended up finding huge success on my own. I became top performer at every company I ever worked for. And, bypassed a number of years, I, moved up through the ranks and went from sales to manager, to regional manager, to executive director of sales and marketing. And then I broke my foot. I was going out to the garage or out to the gym one morning and I tripped over my big 120-pound dog and I flipped over the dog. I hit a high heel shoe. The high heel shoe went up and I impaled the bottom of my foot. When I came off, I had crushed my foot. I basically ripped all the bones across the top of my foot and ripped all the ligaments and tendons holding my toes to the midfoot. I didn't know that I had done as much damage as I had, but in the end, I ended up having 2 surgeries, 7 months with no walking, no weight bearing, no driving. Like, it was awful. 6 months of therapy, it was just awful. And in the end, I lost my job. What I didn't realize at the time was that my entire identity, my entire life, because I had been taught as a child, I'm from the boomer generation. I was taught you work hard. Everything's about your job. You work hard. It's about your title. It's about your success. And so my entire identity had been wrapped up in my job. And when I lost that, I was devastated. And I know it sounds crazy, but I think there are a lot of people out there right now who have lost their jobs. And, typically I don't talk about this because it was such a painful period in my life. But I think it's important to talk about it now because I think there are a lot of people that are probably feeling this right now. I know that a lot of men have retired and they feel it, right? Where their entire identity has been built around this job and this career. And then when they retire, they have nothing and they feel like there's this emptiness, this hole. And that's what I felt like, except that, I was in my 40s. It wasn't like I was retired, but I chose to retire afterwards because I felt like I had nothing. And I became very, very depressed. I hid away from the world, and I know it sounds crazy. It does sound crazy, and but it did. I just felt like my life didn't mean much because of it, and it was a really sad time for me. That's what happened. Once that happened, a number of months later, 2.5 years later, after I'd gone through all the surgeries, and I could actually walk again, I got myself up off the couch. I had gone on a vacation with my husband and we went scuba diving. We're going scuba diving. I had never been before. Do you scuba dive? Have you ever been scuba diving?
No, I never did.
No, yeah, no, I had never been either, but I thought, hey, let's do it, right? I'm always one for, yeah, let's try it. My husband had been, but I had never been. So I tried it and I took the shallow lessons. I did the pool, I did the shallow water. Then I went out into the big water. You know, you go out in the boat, you go for 20 minutes, you dive in, and it was spectacular. Let me tell you. I mean, it was like, oh, it was better than anything you could ever imagine. It was so beautiful. But we were down there where, you know, we hadn't been down there very long. And one of the guys said, Jackie, let me take your picture, right? He wanted to take my picture underwater. So I do my goofy pose and he takes the picture and him and my husband turn around and they start swimming off. But they've got the flippers on. So they're going pretty fast. I turned around and I couldn't breathe. And I thought, oh, I must have swallowed water, right? And I'm trying to think about it. And I look off and my husband's probably 30 feet away. And I'm thinking, oh, great. What have you done? You know, and you beat yourself up and dummy you, Jackie, what'd you do now? Swallowing water, what an idiot. And then I remember, oh yeah, the lessons. This is what I have to do. So I blow out the regulator. I do what I'm supposed to do. Nothing works. I can feel my lungs and they're filling up and I can feel my breath getting shorter and shorter. And I'm like, uh-oh, I do it again. And I'm not panicking, but I know I'm in trouble and nothing happens. And next thing you know, I can feel myself slipping away and I can just feel it. And next thing you know, I'm done. I cross over, I see the light. And it's the most incredible feeling. Like it is this warm, glorious light. It's, you know, it was just amazing. It was the most amazing thing. It was like you were being wrapped in this warmness and this amazing feeling. I didn't want it to ever end. But then my husband, who was way off in the distance, was now right in front of me. And he's on his knees and he's waving goodbye and saying goodbye. And I'm like, I don't understand, right? And he's really sad. And I'm, you know, it was like a tsunami of sadness that kind of waved over me. And I thought, what's going on? It took me a second. I was confused. It took me a second to figure it out. All right, first I can't breathe. Then I see the light. Now he's saying goodbye. And that's when I'm like, no, please, right? You start begging for your life. You literally start begging and you're like, please, no, I promise I'll be better. I'll do better, whatever it takes. I just remember saying, I'll do better, whatever it takes. And I received a message that day. And the message was, Jackie, you haven't been listening to the signs and signals. You've been blessed with many gifts and talents, but you haven't been listening. And you need to get out there and help people feel more confident and successful in business and in life. You have a new path ahead. As soon as that happened, boom, I come to the dive master, shaking me and tapping on my mask, trying to get my attention. He later said that he had seen my body go limp and the eyes roll to the back of my head. And he basically, you know, gave me his oxygen, but it wasn't working. Like I couldn't breathe. He gets me up to the top of the water. The boat comes in, they get me on the boat and I'm not well. I'm coughing and I'm not feeling good. And, you know, but I'm trying to be brave and, oh, it's nothing. Let's go dive again, you know, and I'm sorry for inconveniencing you. And he goes, no, I think we need to get you to the hospital. I'm like, no, I'm fine. Meanwhile, you know, my husband and the other men are out there diving and I'm feeling like an idiot because I'm inconveniencing everybody. But about 20 minutes later, my husband comes up and he gets up on the back of the boat and I take one look at him. He takes one look at me and the tears start flowing and he knows something's wrong. And he gets on and Jose, the dive master's telling him what had happened. And by this time I'm starting to wheeze and I'm like, right, and I can't breathe. And they're saying, we've got to get you to the hospital, but we're still about 20 minutes away from the land. And I'm like, no, I'm fine. Everything's good. I'm okay. Well, I wasn't okay. Eventually I got hit. I had this pain in my temple like I'd never had before. It was the most incredible pain I'd ever felt. And I found out later that what that was a lack of oxygen to the brain. I later spent 3 days in critical condition, clinging to life from a condition, a very rare condition where my body can't tolerate negative water pressure. And what I realized is that I had been given a second chance. 50% of people who have this condition die in the water. It's called internal drowning. And of the 50% that make it out, less than 35% make it to a hospital. I was blessed on every single level. And what I realized was I was given this gift because I, had basically hidden out. I had lost my job. I felt like a loser. I felt like there was no meaning. I didn't know who Jackie was without a job. And I needed to get back into it and find out who is Jackie without the job. Who's Jackie? She's good enough as she is. And so I started down this path, and that's what I started to do. I look back over my career. Sure, I'd been top performer at every company I'd ever worked for. Sure, I'd had lots of success, but it was really hollow when I didn't believe in myself, and when I didn't believe I was good enough, and when I didn't have that job to fall back on. And so the scuba diving, I hadn't listened before. The scuba diving I listened to. And so I got back out there and I started a training company. And this is kind of what happened. And I started to work. Again, I put the same work ethic into it and started to build up, and I've been very, very successful. And I guess the message is, and that I want people to know, is that, even when you're forced out of your position, there is life, there is change. Sometimes the change that you get is bigger than you could ever imagine. And not to think that, that life, there's nothing else there, because sometimes when those forced changes are made, it's because there's something bigger and better on the other side. And yeah, so that's the adversity that I faced. It took a lot. It took a lot of big messages to come to me. I wasn't listening. And I think, we need to look for those little signs and signals that are in there out in life, because they do have meaning. And I know that if there's one person out there that I can help, that's my mission in life, is to help people. Yeah. So that's the story.
Yeah. I really love the story, actually. It's actually inspiring. And I actually noted a point that you mentioned it wasn't like the pain in your head was incredible pain. Like it was sounding like it's so positive and something, but it was a miserable pain, and it's an incredible, like, yeah.
I think sometimes, I call it hitting bottom, and I really do believe that I hit bottom. I know for a lot of us, we have to hit bottom before we can achieve great things. And, I'm preparing for a TED Talk, and this is what I want to talk about in life. I know that for many people, hitting bottom, it could be anything. It could be a divorce. It could be the loss of a job. It could be the loss of a child. It could be, whatever it is. But I think that life is about having to pick ourselves up, because there are others in our world that are so important to us. We can't just give up. We have to keep going, and we need to be strong for the other people out there, because I know that there are other people out there that we can help through our stories, through our experiences. And I really believe that. I know that there are other people out there that lend a helping hand to me, that helped me, whose stories inspired me and helped pick me up. And I know that my story can help them. And so I think that, especially now through the pandemic, with all of the the economic problems and the health problems, the loss, the adversity, all of the unprecedented problems and things that we're going through in the world today, I think we are becoming a more heart-centered, caring, loving, empathetic world. And I think this is all part of it, that we do need to show more compassion and caring for each other, and to extend that helping hand. Yeah.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. So it's all about helping others, and we grow through it, right? So when we help others, they help others, and and it's a circular way. When you help someone, in a way, that's come back to us. Like, I believe that.
Yeah, it's it's passing it on. It's there's just so much loss right now, and Yes, I agree wholeheartedly. We do need to help. We do need to help everybody, as much as we can. And I'm a big believer in that. And that's why I do what I do. It's I like even on LinkedIn, I know everybody's out there trying to increase sales. And this is my little world, right? My little world of selling. But I know that everybody, your little world of podcasting, you're getting messages, you're helping to spread the stories of so many people. You are contributing and helping, the stories that you're contributing are helping so many people out there. And who knows, it could be one sentence, one word, one little thing that helps somebody. And I think that's what it's about. It's really about, those little things that we do that make the biggest difference in the lives of other people. That's it. I really, yeah.
Yeah, absolutely.
Mm-hmm.
Like the small
Mm-hmm.
things are make the biggest impact. Now,
Yeah.
so your wish is to your mission, you can say, is to help other people. Now, who like which people during your journey has most influenced you or mostly helped you? List
Who-
three of.
Oh my gosh. I've had so many people help me in my life, so many people. And sometimes it's the smallest little thing. Have you ever noticed you go through the day and someone might say something that's just the perfect thing that you just had to hear in that moment, right? And, I used to, even though I had this great, before, when I broke my foot and I mean, what are the chances I would impale my foot with a high heel shoe? I mean, it's just crazy, right? But I wasn't happy. I was doing it because, I had family responsibility and financial responsibilities. And was I happy? I wasn't happy where I was. I really wasn't. And I knew it, but I wasn't listening. But I would have these little glimmers of hope. I'd have a great day or some great thing would happen, but overall I wasn't listening. And I think there are people that come into your lives and they'll say something, and that's that glimmer of hope. And I'm such an optimist. I cling on to that little glimmer of hope and that wonderful thing that somebody said. But overall, I guess I don't know. Am I too optimistic? Maybe. Am I too much of a believer? I don't know. Maybe. But I think, there have been some really instrumental people in my life, and I'm always trying to learn. And I think that's the key. It's those people that are continually trying to learn, to better themselves, to be open to new ideas versus, being closed off. I always tease my children. An adult is, kids think they know everything, and adults recognize that they know nothing. And that's the difference, right? That we're always open to new opportunities and learning. The people that have made the biggest difference in my life, even today, my daughter, she's a millennial. I learned so much about millennials. I do, one of the other people I learned from, and my son too, I learned from him. He's like, Mom, the world is not all about success and money. He's like that old voice that's always in the back of my head. And I have a mentee, she's all about lifestyle. It's all about skiing and hiking and getting out there and having fun. And, for us boomers, that's like crazy talk. Work. And it's just great to hear it, to feel it, to see it, and so I do learn every day. Some of the people in my past, I've had the most incredible mentors, work mentors. I've had the most incredible friends and family. The list could go on and on and on and on. It's just every day I learn something new from somebody wonderful. So yeah, but I learned a lot about my kids in this millennial thing. I have learned a lot. Yeah. You're laughing. I see you're laughing. You're laughing at this. Yeah. This old boomer type. I know. I hear you.
Yeah, so I'm also a millennial. So no, I'm not millennial. I'm a Gen Z. I guess maybe I don't know. Maybe I'm a Gen Z. So yeah. So I don't know about that. There is a journey gap between learning gap between all generations. And yeah, absolutely, we learn from each other. Actually, now, so what would be like your top three list? Like not, yeah, we learn from every single one, but what are the top three people that influence you or people you learn most from?
There was a gentleman. Way back when. His name was Ron Bryant. He was an incredible mentor to me. And he taught me to think outside of the box. So, that opportunities are everywhere. You just have to look for them. I was in construction, selling in construction way back when as a girl. That was, there weren't too many girls in construction way back then. And, just driving down the street, if you see a building that's under construction, stop in. It was brilliant. It was brilliant. If you saw an ad in a newspaper, phone them. Like little things. You didn't have to follow the traditional methods and methodologies. Thinking outside the box. That's what he taught me to do. And that's one of the things, to be creative in what you do and how you do it. That's what he taught me. So that was really good. Who else taught me something really great? There's a gentleman named Keith Strachan. He taught me that when you're dealing with clients, you should always be their partner. That even, if you are, as a sales trainer, it's always about what's in it for them. What am I providing for the client? What is the client? It's always about doing what's right for the client and what's in it for them. When you're talking to them, when you're advertising, when you are talking features and benefits, as salespeople, we tend to talk about us. It's okay. Yes, it's us. We tend to be, a little, it's always about us as salespeople, but no, it's not. It should be always about the client. And I think he taught me about that. My husband teaches me a lot because he's very different from me. My personality is very out there and he's a thinker. He takes the time to think and to process and to really think things through. So it makes me think about things a little more, right? To take that time to process and think. And, and do things in process. Whereas I'm just like, let's do it, right? I'm squirrel. I'm like, yeah, let's do it. And I'm an advanced facilitator for colors, for True Colors. So I do personality profiling. I am the ideal sales personality in terms of, the way I am. And I know I'm fearless and I go after sales. But we have that personality where we're a little scattered at times. So being able to pull that in and process, and it's those processes that have made me very, very successful. Step-by-step repeatable processes that you do time and time again. Those are the ones that get you the repeatable outcomes time and time again. And that's where I've been able to be really successful. So, yeah. So I've had some great people.
Yeah.
Great people in my life. Very great people in my life. Yeah.
Yeah, that's really amazing. So like there is a proper balance between you and your husband. So one is a thinking and one is a do it. And it makes a proper balance. Yeah.
Yeah, it can make for some really great differences at times too, right? The things you love in someone, or the things you hate in someone. Yeah.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, it happens.
Yeah, it always does. Yeah, this is what make things fun. Yeah, right. Yes.
Yeah, definitely. Yeah.
Yeah. So are you from the very beginning connected to sales, like from the very beginning of your career, or did you had a different career?
No, come on. I started, that boomer thing. I started flipping burgers in high school. Oh no, let's back up. I would babysit and deliver newspapers. I was a subcontractor for the newspaper kid in the block. So I delivered newspapers and I delivered flyers for, I think, 7 cents a piece. I did that for a while as a kid. Then what else did I do? I worked at the bank.
How old were you?
I was young. I was probably 12 when I was doing the papers. And I think when I could first work, I was 14 doing the burgers. I worked at Bob's Bigger, Better Alberta Beef Burgers. And so I'd flip burgers. Didn't like that job. My first real job, I worked at the bank through the university program. And Lucy, she was mean. Didn't like her. No. And I wasn't very good. I'm not that organized person. So if my if my drawer didn't balance every night, whoa, it wasn't good. I had to stay late and go through every transaction, making it work. And yeah, it wasn't. So I did the bank. I knew banking wasn't for me. To say that I can't balance, I can. I am. I'm very thorough with numbers and money, but it's not my forte. I like people. It's so much more fun. And what else have I done? So I did that. Yeah, while I was going to university, I worked at the bank. And then I started off, and then I was in accounts receivable. So I worked for a company called Cummins Diesel. It was a trucking company. And when people didn't pay for their trucks, like the big diesel trucks, when their bill payment didn't come through, I had to phone them up. And yeah, I was that big mean person on the other end. Hey, you haven't paid your bill. When are we getting your payment? Did that for a while. What else did I do? Then, oh my gosh, yeah. Oh, and then then that's when I got the job as the secretary. And my boss said, hey, you'd be really good at sales. And I was selling time clocks, and I was not good. I was awful. You see, people think that because you have a personality, you can be really good at selling. That's not true. That's a lie. You need skill. You really do. There is a skill set that is required to selling. You can't just go out there and be fun. It helps, but yeah, you need a skill set. There is process that's required. And I guess that's why, I help a lot of small business owners, and I help corporations, but that's the problem. When people don't have the proper processes behind them, that's why 50% of small businesses fail in the first 5 years. They're really great at their product. They know their product inside and out. But if you don't know how to promote your product, if you don't know how to sell product, you don't have the revenue coming in. If you don't have the revenue coming in, you can't pay your bills, and it's a downhill slide after that. You have to know how to sell. It's, I think they should, and let's face it, whether you're selling your product or promoting yourself or whatever it is, whether you're trying to get a kid to eat his vegetables, you are always selling, right? It's persuading. It's right. Don't you think?
Yeah, absolutely.
True. You're always, but from a business point of view, it's really important that people know how to sell, and yet so few people actually take the time to learn. 85% of small business owners do not take formal sales training. And I think that their success rates could be so much higher if they did. Or a lot of salespeople, professional salespeople, and I see this happen time and time again, they'll go from one job to the next, not really having success, but not really being found out, right? It takes a while for all the results to come in, and they just go from one job to the next. A lot of people don't like to cold call, right? Find clients and do that. So they don't do it, and they just keep going from job to job instead of just taking the time to learn how to do it and do it well. So yeah, that's what I do. I help people. I do it simply. I have a way of teaching people how to do it, and I communicate it in a way that's very, very simple, and that's what people like about me.
Yeah, that's really amazing that you love the systems. So
Yeah.
I completely agree with that, because I was also bad at sales. Like, I was very bad at sales. That was a big issue for me earlier. And so I didn't learn through any programs or anything, but through books, basically. Like, I learned from various books from various people who were actually good from on sales. And the biggest problem that I had was there was a factor where, like, I'm an introvert, so there was a factor where I did not like the restriction part that much. So, like, I was not following up enough. So, like, uh,
Yes.
yeah, and but
Yes. Follow-up is huge, right? People are busy and we automatically assume that they don't want to talk to us because they're not interested. And that's not true. And 24%, so a quarter of your sales are in the follow-up. Yeah, a quarter of your sales are in the follow-up. Yeah, I know. People are shocked to learn that, but it's true. It's true. Yeah. And it's a simple system. Like the other thing, people don't take notes, right? If you take notes and yeah, anyway, blah, blah, blah. There's, don't get me going.
You can
I
go
get too,
on.
I get too passionate about selling. I get too excited.
Yeah, it's okay. You can go. But I love that taking note part. So there is a big change that I did recently was to whenever I talk to someone, I took notes and then just send the notes to someone. Like it really helped. Like they are highly appreciated. Like and yeah, even the taking note part is like very like transformative. We can say.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
they
Taking it.
yeah,
Sorry.
and they think that we are like very professional, like with just that word. Yeah,
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
yeah, yeah. So, like, how would you react if Lucy that you mentioned listens to this podcast?
I'm sorry, in terms
Uh,
of,
uh, Lucy that you mentioned. So, if she listens to the podcast and she said she was miserable, how would you feel?
was I miserable?
Now, you said that Lucy is miserable.
Yeah.
Yeah, and
Oh,
if
that I
she
was
listens,
miserable selling. How
no,
was I? Oh,
no, I said that you mentioned that Lucy, you were the
oh,
person you were.
loose,
Yeah. If she
loosely.
if she hears this podcast, what
Yeah.
would be your reaction to it? Like, or what would be her reaction?
Well, Lucy, I think leadership has changed tremendously in the last few years, and I know it has. I mean, back then, leadership style was fear and demanding. It was a dictatorship. It wasn't about buy-in. Today, the leadership is about getting people to buy in to your belief system. It's about getting people to follow you. It's not about demanding they do what you want them to do and now, right? She was a demand, fear-based. People don't do well in that type of environment. They don't do well. And I think it's important. And there's still some leaders out there that are like that believe it should be fear-based. And leadership is not about fear. It's about, especially with the kids today, they are not going to go for that. You need to inspire people through your own greatness. Really, you need to inspire people and motivate them and really get them to buy in to what you want them to do. And that's what leadership is today. It's different. It's very, very different than what it was. So yeah, if Lucy's listening, it's okay. She was mean, very, very mean.
Yeah,
Mean.
yeah,
I was
yeah,
terrified, very terrified of her.
yeah.
Yeah.
I really love your like energy and personality actually. Uh, yeah, yeah. So let's shift from this non-conversation to sales more side.
Okay.
Yeah. So what like describe us like what is social selling and why and when it is necessary.
Well, social selling. Social selling is going online, connecting, building relationships, and creating opportunities so that you can, promote and sell your product. Why is it important? It's important because we're all in lockdown and we're all stuck at home, and the traditional methods of doing that, trade shows, one-on-one visits, visiting customer locations, conventions, conferences, all of those traditional ways of selling, going for coffee, going for lunch, playing golf, whatever that is, those are no longer available to us. And so a lot of salespeople have found it very difficult. They're stuck. How do I sell? How do I move forward? How do I get clients? How do I find those clients? How do I create those leads now that I'm at home in front of this computer? It's different. And so what's happening is it's about social selling. I've been doing it for years. I remember my social media girl came to me probably 4 years ago and said, Jackie, you need to do video online. And I'm like, you are dreaming. I am not getting online and doing video. You are dreaming, girl. Forget it. No, very important, very important. I'm like, no, I'm not doing it. So she finally convinced me. So here I am. And I'd be reading, okay, this is what you do with selling. You do 1, this, 2, that, 3, this. I had terrible lighting. I had terrible sound. I was up close. It was awful. My girlfriend and one of my customers texted me and they said, Jackie, you are very bad, very bad. You watch this person, and this person. This is what a video should look like. I'm like, oh, okay. So you're supposed to have fun. You're supposed to be fun. Oh, okay. Anyway, so then anyway, for years, I've just been doing my thing. But what social selling is there's a number of different things that you can do. And I'm writing the book, The Badass Guide to Selling During COVID. It's taking me a little longer than it should, but it's almost done. Social selling skills and strategies, how to sell more. Basically, you can take social selling to various levels. It's picking, finding your top 10 or 20 customers that you just want to engage with. So when they post, you're engaging so that you're sticking out, standing out. They see you. They know that you're following them and that you're responding and, you're watching what they're doing. You can do that. You can generate leads. You can actually find people on LinkedIn that you want to. I take snippets. So you don't have to spend a lot of money to do social selling. Before I connect with people, if this is someone that I think I could, as a lead, I actually take a little snap picture and print it off and throw it in my lead bin so that I have a lead. Because if you hit the connect button and they decide they don't like you and they don't want to connect with you, they're gone forever. You never find them again. But if you actually take a quick photo, then you can capture that and put it in your lead bin and you've got a lead, right? You've got their name, the company they work for, their title. All you have to look up is their phone number. But social selling is really about building relationships. And the more you post, the more you provide value, the more you give clients. One of the biggest mistakes that I see people making is they connect with someone and then they start selling them. Oh, you should see my this or that. You should try this. And that's the wrong way to do it. That is not social selling. That is turning people off. What you want to be doing is providing value. It's a longer process. Social selling is a much longer process than regular selling. It is about building that relationship. It's about creating those conversations. It's about engagement. But let me tell you, when it happens, it is magic. It is magic when it happens. And it does happen. I spend a lot of time on my phone. I spend a lot of time on my LinkedIn page. I do 3 sales tips a day that I put out there. Part of that is my own personal mandate from the scuba diving. I want to help people, so I do that. I do 1 weekly video, and I have a following, and that following is building weekly all the time. But it's more than that. It's about providing value for people. And the other thing that I do, I have a top of mind campaign so that when people want, I send them twice a month. I'll send them a sales action if they want it. They send me their email, I send them this thing. And I have another thing for my clients. I send them stuff. Like, it's about giving. And the more you give people, there's this little thing called reciprocity. And reciprocity means, right? You give to me, I want to give to you. And look at him smiling away. Yes, I know it's a great thing, reciprocity. But it's true. We don't like to feel like we owe people, right? It's like when you have someone over for dinner. Someone has you over for dinner. We don't want to feel like we owe them dinner, so we have them over right away for dinner again. And it's the same thing with selling. And here's the thing, decision makers are watching. They watch social media. They're looking. They see stuff. They might not be engaging, but they're watching. And a lot of them are taking note of what's out there. They're using the stuff that's on social media, particularly LinkedIn, to make those purchasing decisions. And so it's really important. If you're not selling on social media, you should be. Those people who are social selling earn 78% more than those who don't. And 90% of all social or of top performers are social selling. It's important. It's really important. So that's why I do it.
Okay.
Mm-hmm.
So one thing though, like I noticed that you just I don't know if anyone told you that you mentioned what I do, or the other person does when during the conversation, like on I've talked to other people, but no one does that. So I really like about that, like this thing.
Like what? What do I do? What do you do?
So you mentioned what I do, like that, as you said, like I'm smiling, or like you did it multiple times. I guess that's a positive side of your personality as well.
Yeah. Well, it's relationship, right? It's relationship. That's what it is. That's what it is. It's relationship. It's building relationship. That's it. It's getting to know the person. It's starting those conversations. It's recognizing and saying, hey, I see what you're doing, and giving and taking, and it's the back and forth. That's what it is. It's good stuff.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
I actually need to learn these things. I will use this tactic to actually when talking to other people. It's great. Yeah. Yeah. So one thing though, like how do you give 3 tips every single day?
How do I give every single day?
Yeah, three tips
Three
that you said.
tips
Yeah, 3 tips
every
every
day?
day. Yeah.
Software. And I used to do it myself. But we all have knowledge, right? You're an expert podcaster. You have knowledge about podcasting. You have knowledge about many things. Maybe it's about people. You have knowledge on many, many things. So you write down little tidbits of what you know. And that's what I do. So I'll write down little tidbits. And basically, a book is a lot of tidbits in a book, right? But I will write down, there are days where either I'm training and I'll say something, I'm like, oh yeah, that's good. And I'll write it down, or I'll be thinking, or I get up in the night, I'm like, oh yeah, that's good. And I'll write it down. I just keep a little journal and I write things down. Those little tidbits of information are valuable. And we think sometimes that that some of our stuff isn't, okay, let me give you an example. The other day, the tip that went out was, when you use a person's name 3 times in conversation, they like you more. I thought everybody knew that. I had 1,000+ views. I'm like, really? I thought everybody knew that, right? But we think that it doesn't matter, but it does matter. And so you use software. Once you get your content, you can go on canva.com to Canva, and they have different sizes. So Instagram and Twitter are one size, and Facebook and LinkedIn are another size. And you can create images, and you put the little words inside the image, the post. You make posts, then you download it and you upload it onto the social media platform. Once you do that, you can also use something like Hootsuite or Buffer, and they have a schedule, and you can schedule it. So if you do a lot of posts, you can do it all at 1 month, right? So you take all your content, you do 30 of them, and you can say, okay, I want it to post first thing in the morning, 7 a.m. And you just plug them all in, and they upload at 7 a.m. my girl Marcy, she does all that for me. She's great. She's really good at it. She's very creative. She does amazing work. She brands everything. She does amazing stuff. But yeah, that's how you do it.
Amazing. So yeah, that's
Now, or if you want, you can take your own content and you go to Google and you look up an image, right? Make sure it's not a sponsored image, like it's not an image you have to pay for. And you can just go to Google, look up the word, say it's sales, look up the word image. You know, there's the little icons up above. You just look up image, pull a picture, add the picture to your words and post it. You want to add a photo. Photos will double your interest and engagement. A video will give you 5 times the interest or engagement. It's very important. You don't ever just want to put text out there. You want to have a photo or video.
That's very good. So now if someone wants to convert from, like I said, social, like normal selling to social selling, so what steps can he take?
Well, the difference is regular selling is basically doing it face to face, and social selling is doing everything online. It takes much longer to do it online because you don't have, it's almost like remote selling or Zoom, right? When we're talking Zoom, you only get that little bit of personality, that little square. You don't see all the body language. You can't feel the energy. You can't, you don't see as much body language, right? So you don't have as much to work with. Because as salespeople, we tend to be intuitive. We tend to take the whole surrounding we process all of that. And I think we don't have that when we're remote selling. We don't have that when we're social selling. So it's much harder. It takes a little longer. And, I think face-to-face, at least as far as I'm concerned, is way easier. But it's not to say that it can't be done. When you build those relationships online, it's like magic. It really is. It's nice. And you meet some incredible people. The great thing about social selling is you get to meet people that you would never, ever meet. Look at you and me. We never would have met if it wasn't for online, right?
Absolutely.
Yeah. Hey, you get to meet markets and customers, and your reach, your visibility is so much greater online. Things that you could never do. Look at all the businesses that sell online that could never do that with a regular brick and mortar store, right? It's amazing. This internet and the change that we've had is just astounding. It's pretty amazing.
Yeah, absolutely. So how can a person go from normal selling to like social selling?
Social selling?
Yeah, from normal to social.
Well, they could take Jackie's course. That would help. But you can start with, I couldn't help it. I had to say that. I call it social selling. LinkedIn is the new cold calling, right? LinkedIn is the new cold calling for sure. They have over 1 million new users a month. They are absolutely exploding. Social selling is exploding. But just take baby steps. And I truly mean that. You don't have to start doing everything at once. Just start engaging on LinkedIn. That means liking, commenting, and sharing. That's it. That's all you have to do. Go to the feed, start getting familiar with the feed, put a great profile out there. On your profile, make sure you've got a professional photo, not one where you've, pushed mom and dad out of the picture. I mean, a good professional photo where you're smiling, make sure you've got, put something in the banner behind. That's advertising space. You want to make sure you've got something good behind there. Make sure that your headline talks about what makes you unique and different and what's in it for the customer. What's the customer going to get? Because that's important. Use that space. That's what people see, right? So that's important. Make sure your profile is up to date and it's got good stuff in there. The about me, it's not a resume. It should be all the great stuff about what you're going to deliver for the client in first person, not third person. Back in our day, and I say our day as in the boomer, it used to be third person descriptive, almost like a resume. No, it's not that anymore. Now it's first person. I am going to deliver this, this, and this. I specialize in such and such and such for the client. My mandate is to provide da, 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 da. You want to be doing that in your about section. What makes you unique and different and what you're going to deliver to the client. That's what you're trying to do. Recommendations. If you don't have your recommendation section filled out in LinkedIn, get her done. Very, very important. Very, very important. So your header, recommendations, and your about section. And they have a new section called features where you can put all your really good stuff. That's your brag section. You can put your awards, you can put, you can put all your really good stuff that you want everyone to see. Your really good posts, they got like a bazillion views, all the good stuff up there. It just stays there all the time. So it's nice. Mm-hmm. Yeah. But just start liking and engaging. Just start playing around with it. Too many people are scared to engage. Stay away from politics, stay away from religion, stay away from anything that's a little too, fanatical. Stick to business. Don't put memes up. Stick to business. Support the people. Tell them they're doing a great job. Add your opinion. Ask a question. Be insightful, somewhat provocative if you want, that kind of stuff. But just get on there and do it. Start playing around, start being part of. The more you become, the more you put yourself out there, the more people are going to see you, the more you are creating visibility and creating a brand for yourself. And that's what social selling is.
Yeah, absolutely. So, but one thing though, like, what's the issue with memes? Okay. Though I don't put out memes, but what's the issue with memes?
What is it with memes? Why shouldn't you put memes on LinkedIn?
Yeah.
Well, because some people really do not look favorably. It is a business site, and to have little cartoons or things, it's more, keep it on Instagram and Facebook. It's not for LinkedIn. It's just not. Some people do, and it's okay, but it is a business site, and it should, listen, when in doubt, play it safe. That's always my motto. When in doubt, play it safe. So just don't do it. Then you don't get yourself in hot water.
Okay,
it's just easier. It's easier that way. Just post business stuff. If we only have so much time. If you have 5 minutes a day to post something that's important to you about business. Post about a podcast or how people can use podcasts to increase their visibility on LinkedIn, right? Or why podcasts are important, or the top 3 things to put on a podcast, or how to find podcast guests, or, there's so many things you could do. But spend your 5 minutes doing that instead of a meme. That's just my opinion. And I'm a little opinionated, so.
Yeah, that's good. Everyone's opinion is different, yeah. Yeah. So one thing though, like other than LinkedIn, so Twitter is also a great place for having conversations. Like what your perspective about Twitter?
Twitter's news based. Like a lot of people do have conversations on Twitter. I find that, we can't do it all, right? Pick the social media platform that works for you, where your clients are, where do they hang out? Instagram is massive these days. I know my kids tell me, oh, Mom, Facebook is for old people. That's what they say. I like, oh yes, right. Those insightful millennial, yes. But but stats are showing that Instagram is huge. It's the and TikTok, of course, but Instagram is the growing one. A lot of business owners business decision makers are on Twitter, probably because of the news base, and they are on LinkedIn. So my recommendation is, pick one that you can be really good at, So pick the one where your audience is. That's it. Pick one where your audience is. If your audience is, if you're MLM and your audience is on Facebook, pick Facebook. If you are, a photographer and your audience is on Instagram, then pick Instagram. If, they're on Twitter, go to Twitter. Just pick where your audience is.
Absolutely.
I just happen to be a LinkedIn fan.
Yeah, it's good. Like, yeah, it's all about what works for you, then working towards it, and learning what's good, what's works, and what doesn't work. Yeah, I love that. And so, like, now we're almost at the end. So, so tell us about your book. So, a bit more about your book. Why did you start writing it? Yeah.
Oh, why did I write it? Well, because my publisher said, Jackie, write a book about selling during COVID. I'm like, oh man, okay, I said. And of course, it's taking longer to get out than I thought. So I spend every extra minute of my day trying to get this book out. It's coming. And I know, I have such a loyal following. I call them my tribe, have been so dedicated, so good to me. A lot of them have already pre-bought the book and they're like, Jackie, we need to know how to sell during COVID. Hurry up. It's almost over. I'm like, okay, I'm coming. But the book it's step-by-step, simple processes. How do I start engaging? How do I remote sell? How do I put on a good presentation? How do I get out there and really start to generate leads, find new customers without spending money? You see, I've grown into, like, say, LinkedIn and some of, Navigator, Premium, some of those things, but those cost money. I'm one, call me cheap. I don't know. I don't like to spend money on things. There's a way of doing things without spending a lot of money, without spending any money, actually. And that's what I teach, because I know that it is really hard for a lot of small businesses to get their businesses off the ground. And so I teach them how to find leads and generate new customers without spending money. And that's what the book is about, doing it without spending any money. And you can drum up a huge amount of business from doing it this way without, like I said, I use this phone. This little phone is huge. Before, my biggest tip that I can give anybody, I will, before I hit connect with a contact and send an invite on there, I will actually take a snip photo of that person with their contact name, the company they work for, blah, 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 print it, throw that lead in a file before I send the invitation to connect. That way I've got their information. All I need is their phone number and I can phone them later. So that's one of my biggest tips. But yeah, so the book is step by step. How do you find more leads, generate customers, and sell online? How do you provide value? What types of, I include scripts, checklists. How do you do it? What do you say? Step by step. Yeah, that's what it's almost done.
Yeah. So how long is it? Like, how many pages around?
Right now, well, the other one, it's close to this one. This one, this is the first one, The Badass Guide to Superstar Selling. It is 157 pages, so it's not too bad. It's similar. It might be a little bit longer, but we won't know until it's actually published. And then, they bind it and put it all together. That's when we know exactly how many pages it is.
Got it.
So, but it's close. I try to keep it tight. I don't like reading a lot. Like, I love information, but I wish they could just kind of zap it and it would go right into my head. I read a lot of books, but I like to keep things straightforward to the point and just give you the info right out. Point form would be great. I try to keep stuff quick and simple.
Yeah, amazing. Yeah, I really like that. So now, any last word that you want to share with us?
Well, thank you for having me, of course. Yes, there's one thing I always write in my book. Dream big, push through fear, and be badass in all you do. Wishing you the best.
Yeah, that's a really good quote. And so, where can our listeners find you online? And also, where is the pre-order link?
Oh, they can find me at Rainmakers. It's with an S, Rainmakers. Do you know what a rainmaker is? Rainmaker is a salesperson that makes it rain sales.
Oh,
That's what a rainmaker is. Yes. And it comes from the legal industry. So the lawyer that brings in the most business and makes it rain sales, that's the rainmaker in the firm. So anyway, it's rainmakersgroup.ca for Canada. And you can find me on linkedin.ca, Jackie Rainforth. I got the name The Rainmaker years ago from, I used to work for a company called Kohler. They're a luxury plumbing supply. They they supply fancy plumbing stuff. And the boys, they said, "Ooh, you're the Rainmaker." So that's where it all comes from. I know, silly. But yeah, rainmakersgroup.ca or linkedin.ca, Jackie Rainforth. That's where you can find me.
yeah, okay. So, where the listeners can pre-order your book?
Oh, the book, you can get it again on the website, rainmakersgroup.ca, or you can get it on amazon.ca or .com. It's on .com as well.
Yeah, okay. So I'll actually put the link, all the links on the description of the video or the audio or both. So yeah. So
Okay.
yeah. So thanks again for coming on the show. I really loved having you. Yeah, and yeah, that's I'm sure listeners got tons of value out of it. And yeah, thanks again.
Thank you. Okay, bye-bye.
Bye.